Hello there, and welcome back to the Codex. So, today, I'm bringing you a interesting and very powerful Laetum build. First, let's go over perhaps a more normal Laetum build that you might be used to, aside from the introduction of Secondary Enervate. So, Secondary Enervate is a extremely good arcane, and I know the popular use case for the Laetum is to go for the non-crit build, like you do on the Fenmore and the Felarx, for example, but in my opinion, the crit Laetum is the way to go, partially just because it's very simple to maintain, and you don't have any issues when you're fighting enemies that have forced crit weak points, like when you go fight the Murmur, for example. If you want to take the Laetum to EDA, and especially in that assassination fight, you're going to be constantly forced to hit critical hits, and when that's the case, you're not going to be able to benefit from this evolution here, which gives you 20x damage multiplier basically on non-critical hits. And that's, of course, a bad thing, because you go from doing insane damage to doing basically no damage. However, if we take this, which is on a hit that is neither a critical nor applies a status effect, you get plus 400% base damage, by the way, not multiplicative, up to 3 stacks. So this gives you 1200% base damage, which means you definitely do not need a form of base damage on the weapon, of course. The other evolutions that I'm using are the minus 40% recoil, the plus 30% stacking up to 90% reload speed on headshot, and the plus 20% status chance, minus 10% crit chance. This one's really nice, especially. Even though we are doing a crit build, since we're getting our crit chance as a flat stacking value from Enervate, the negative crit chance from this doesn't actually matter. It's going to have essentially no impact on our crit rate. So you're just purely benefiting from the flat 20% extra status chance with effectively the ability to ignore the downside from the negative crit chance. So it's very good. So here is a example build. This is a basic corrosive heat build, also with magnetic from Magnetic Might. And if I go over here, you'll see that it's effective. I'll summon a bunch of level 225 corrupted heavy gunners. Once I learn how to spell here, let's do corrupt heavy gunners. Again, that's 20 of them. They have the steel path modifier on, and they're level 225. And if you use a Laetum on them, they will die. After the first few, of course, to stack up those galvanized bonuses and whatnot. And also, once you stack up that attrition bonus here, the overwhelming attrition, which is, again, whenever you do a non-crit, non-status hit. So even though we're building for crit, and we're building for stats with dual stats, you still hit enough hits that are neither of those to keep that stacked up. Reliably enough, at least. And you can see we get all the way up to the orange crit territory, thanks to Secondary Enervate. Now, one thing you'll notice is that even though I'm using the Galvanized Multi-Shot mod, you're only getting 1 stack of Enervate per shot. Once that resets here, goes from 0 to 10, to 20, to 30. If you look at the top right of my screen, Enervate does not count multi-shots, so even if you're firing 4 shots, you're not going to get 40% Enervate. You're going to get 10% Enervate, regardless of your multi-shot. But there's one way to get around that. Let's go back to the Laetum build here. If we go back to my main build, the build that I actually use, it is a blast magnetic build, and with the innate radiation. So this is a blast build with Pistol Elementalist, and again, Enervate. So since we freed up that crit chance slot, you can slot in Magnetic Might. Magnetic Might is extremely good because by adding this mod, you of course get the extra crit damage. But since you're adding Magnetic, you absolutely shred the Xmas enemies with Overguard, or enemies that are given Overguard by that very annoying new infested Xmas type that we recently got. Because Magnetic, if you look at this is essentially viral for shields and Overguard. I don't actually know why it doesn't say it here in the first sentence. This first sentence here says, well, not the first sentence, the second sentence. Magnetic increases shield damage by up to 325%, blah, 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 blah. What it should say is Magnetic increases shield and Overguard damage by up to 325%, because this effect actually applies to Overguard as well, and the formula is the same as Viral, where just that very first Magnetic proc applies a 100%, as in double damage, multiplier to Overguard, so you completely shred Xmas with this. So Blast is also really good. Ever since the status rework, it basically adds a 5-meter, very potent AoE to your weapon. But another synergy it has is with Secondary Enervate. Let's show you something real interesting real quick here. So, you know how I said you only get 1 Enervate stack per shot? Pay real close attention to this when I proc Blast. So here's a shot, so I'm going to go from 40 to 50. So boom, 40 to, no, went to reset to 10, because I orange crit. So it went from 0 and then to 10, but then it went up to 20. When blast procs detonate, they count as an additional hit towards Enervate because they occur at a separate time from your shots landing. So let's watch this again. From 20 to 30, and then it detonates, and I go from 30 to 40. So Blast has a very potent synergy with Enervate that literally makes you stack up to the orange crits faster. So let's see how this performs once I get these headshots stacked up here. So not only do you stack Enervate faster for those orange crits, but also, since you're using Blast, you have a very nice 5-meter AoE, so that even the enemies that you're not directly shooting take damage, because when you kill an enemy that has Blast procs on them, the remaining Blast procs detonate in that 5-meter AoE, and it kills or hurts everybody around them. So it is exceptionally potent. You can see the guy to the right there just took over 100,000 damage without me even hitting him. So exceptionally good. Let's go hop into a regular mission, the conjunction survival that I usually do, and we'll showcase how this is in a survival. Alright, we are now on the level 180 to 200 Steel Path Conjunction Survival, so we can get a real test of this weapon. Let's go ahead and get some headshots here, if I learn how to aim, that is. And then once we start getting the hordes of enemies, we'll see just how effective this is. You'll notice that several enemies, like right there, 2 or 3 enemies, again died entirely from the blast proc without even being directly shot. I mean, look at the amount of I just killed, what, 5 guys? Those shots right there? Let's do this again. There we go. Another 4 guys dying. You're not even hitting them. I love blast procs. They're incredible. So we're hitting orange crits because we're rapidly stacking up Enervate. We're doing tons of damage to enemies that we're directly hitting, especially Eximus as well. We're shredding that Overguard thanks to the Magnetic Might mod, giving us that little burst of magnetic damage to benefit from the status effect. And again, enemies that we're not even shooting directly, like right there, I just killed a group of 4 or 5 guys, are exploding because blast procs are awesome. It really doesn't get much better than this. And again, thanks to the fact that this is also a crit build, not a non-crit build, you won't have any issues using this against something like the Murmur boss in the Sanctum Anatomica. So whenever you're doing EDA and you're fighting any of those enemies that have forced weak points, whether it be the fragmented one or any of the Demolus Necromechs there, for example, when you want to shoot the crystal on their back, that makes you orange or red crit, you won't have any damage issues now because you're no longer using a non-crit build. So this build works globally everywhere very, very well. Yep, we're just shredding whole crowds here. Now, just to make sure that you also know that it works exceptionally well against Acolytes, I'm going to skip the video ahead for you, and we will jump to the part where we take out an Acolyte. Alright, so here comes an Acolyte in just a moment here. And as you're about to witness, they are also not a problem for this weapon. Oh, stop hiding from me. And he's gone. There we go. So especially all those additional blast hits really helps to get around the attenuation that Acolytes have, and you just completely decimate them, as you saw there. Per usual, that's pretty much the end of the testing for this video. I love the Laetum. It's awesome. Try out this crit blast build. It is very effective. Works everywhere. Shreds enemies. Shreds Overguard. Shreds Acolytes. Basically, no downside. So if you like it, consider dropping a comment below. Like the video. Sub if you haven't already. We're very, very close to 10,000 subs. And I appreciate all you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.